Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the complete Bernstein DG recordings, Part 2, the Leonard Bernstein collection. Now, this isn't around anymore, by the way, this box. There were two boxes originally. You may recall we did box 1 previously. There it is, the big Bernstein head. Anyway, they then took these two things and combined them into an even bigger box, which I don't know if is still available either, but it's all basically the same stuff. And this particular box has, like trillions of things in it. How many CDs does it have? 63 CDs plus a bonus. And we're just going to go through it. And we're going to talk about what's in here. It's actually pretty straightforward because they did it alphabetically, which I think was really a nice thing to do. And the real question is, what's better, early Bernstein or late Bernstein? That's a toughie. I personally think, I'll just give you the answer, and then we can go through this, and we'll see what. I personally think, I can lean on this, it's convenient. Take a nap. I think actually early Bernstein is the way to go, most of the time, with supplements from his later stuff. That's kind of how I think it should work. But I could be wrong. Let me get myself organized here. There we go. I could be wrong, and some of you may have differing opinions. So let's have at it, shall we? We begin part 2 with the letter M, and M is for Mahler. Now, Bernstein's Mahler, the best Bernstein Mahler is a combination of his early and late cycles. So let's go down the list, right? Number 1. The later one is better. It's with the Concerto, although it has a very quick funeral march. It's very interesting. Number 2, this is amazing. He never quite got number 2 earlier, although his first one was the better of the 2 that he did for Sony, plus an extra finale and some other stuff. But, this is hot with the New York Phil. I was at these performances. I was at all of the performances. I saw them all. I wasn't going to miss anything. Not that. Oh, boy. That was great. Number 3, his first one is a little bit better, but this one is better recorded. Number 4, oh, dear. This is with the Concerto. This is the little boy soprano, Helmut Wittek, whatever his name was. No. And his first one with Rary Grist is great. Hands down, the first one with New York Phil. Number 5, this one's a billion times better with Vienna Phil. And it sounds really good. A great performance of the 5th. Number 6, well, the first one was terrific with the New York Phil. This one is just beyond harrowing with the Vienna Phil. I also saw this one live. Holy mackerel, that was something else. Oh, my God. I just remember, and I've said this before, but, just to recapitulate, there was this enormously pregnant lady sitting right next to me. And when the Vienna Phil guy lifted the hammer, she got out of her chair and went to her husband and screamed, really, at her husband, "Look, Marty, he's got a hammer. Oh, my God." And he went, pow, and she went plonk back in her seat. And I was sure her water broke right then. She was going to give birth. It was that kind of a performance. Amazing. Number 7. They're both great, but I think the first one is just a little bit more punchy and atmospheric and has sort of that sense of a new discovery, but they're terrific. I was also at the 7th with the New York Phil, so I got to see these. It was really so much fun. It was really, really fun. And oh my goodness, there was this lady in front of me, one of those blue-haired ladies with, her hair done in some sort of enough hairspray that was creating like this bird cage in front of her. And it was like, you kind of wondered. I actually reached out and touched it just to see if it would move. She didn't notice, and it didn't move. It was fascinating. Anyway, the Symphony number 10, Adagio. Okay, it's all right. The 8th. Well, this was the live Vienna Festival one because Bernstein didn't live to make a new 8th. So his first one is preferable. The sound is kind of iffy. It's live. It's not a bad performance, but it's the same interpretation that we had earlier, only the earlier one is in better sound, sort of. There isn't a perfect Bernstein 8th. 9. Okay, there's 9 with the Berlin Phil. I hate this performance. This is the one that won the Grammy. Everyone screamed and raved about it because it was the Berlin Phil. They play like pigs. It's an edgy performance. There's all kinds of stories about why the trombones dropped out at the end of the finale when they have the tune at the climax. Supposedly someone died or had a health emergency, or you kind of hear something at that moment. You hear this sort of like kerplunk crash. It never should have been released. It wasn't released in Bernstein's lifetime. It was only after he was dead when they could simply exploit him without asking his permission. No, wrong, bad, evil, disgusting. However, the normal one with the Concertgebouw, it's wonderful. His first one was wonderful. They're both terrific. The only issue with the Concertgebouw one is the sound is live sound, and they have a really, really pushy principal trumpet. You know, yeah. Okay, who cares? It's a great ninth. Absolutely great. Then we have Das Lied von der Erde. This is the Decca one. All the Decca and Philips stuff is on here too, with Fischer-Dieskau and James King and Vienna Phil. It's wonderful. Fischer-Dieskau is actually better at his earlier version with Kletzky, but it's still a great Das Lied. And then we get the song cycles. Des Knaben von der Horn, not good. With the Concertgebouw, it's with Lucia Papa, who was sort of over the hill, and some other guy. It's just, they're just not very interesting, and the transpositions to do some of the songs don't work at all. I mean, it's just really strange. I could tell, I'm not like a perfect pitch guy, but when they did the St. Anthony of Padua Sermon to the Fish, I just listened to it and said, well, no, that's not right. That was not good. And then we have the songs with Thomas Hampson. Also okay, just okay, not great. Not great. With the Vienna Phil, I saw them do the Rückert Lieder. This was the performance where the pianist got lost at the end of Mitternacht, and Bernstein hit him on the way out. He shook his fist at him and like going to grab him because he was going double time with everybody else. It was really embarrassing. Oh boy. They fixed it, of course, so it wasn't that way on the recording, but they're also not special. I don't think Hampson's such a great singer. He thinks he is, but that could have fooled me. Mendelssohn. Oh, these are great performances. Hebrides, Scottish, Italian, and Reformation symphonies. Fantastic with the Israel Phil. Amazingly marvelous performances. Brilliant. Fantastic. Great. Mozart. Really beautiful Mozart. We've got symphonies 29, 25, and the clarinet concerto. Then 35, 40, 36, 38, 39, 40. All with the Vienna Phil. Some of the most beautiful Mozart performances you've ever heard. Bernstein was better at Haydn than he was at Mozart, frankly, because Haydn had like humor and a little bit more rambunctiousness about it. In Mozart, he could be a little bit narcissistic, maybe, perfumed a little bit. These are so lovely. I mean, they're not my favorite Mozart performances, but they're gorgeous. Then we've got Symphony 15 and 36. These were his Decca ones, which actually I think are better. I mean, Piano Concerto 15, where he's playing the piano, in 36. I actually like these better than his remakes, again, just because they're fresher and a little bit more lively. Then we've got his Piano Concerto 17 and the Ravel Piano Concerto. This was like those live Vienna things. It's like, so-so. Ave Verum Corpus, Esultate Jubilate, the Great Mass in C minor, and the Requiem. These are fabulous. Amazing. One of the great Mozart Requiems, possibly the best Mozart Great Mass in C minor you've ever heard. This was remarkable because my colleague, Christophe used to do blind listenings in France when he was running Repertoire magazine, where they would play 30 billion recordings of something blind and see which ones came out the best. And these did. Nobody would have thunk it, but they are that wonderful. They're phenomenal performances. Oh, wow. Then we've got, La Bohème. My God. This was his Santa Cecilia. He wanted to do it with a young cast because it's about youth and youngsters. And so he got like a collection of kindergarten kids. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, they were singers, but it's the worst La Bohème ever. Dreary tempos. Nobody is really capable of handling their parts correctly. I mean, what a mess. Just a mess. Horrible. Schubert, Symphonies 5, 8, and 9 with the Concertgebouw. Gorgeous. Fabulous. Sweet, unaffected, lively, fresh, delightful, totally, completely self-propelled. I mean, they just go. It's great. And the great number 9, which, everybody blows. Bernstein again. He was much, much, much better at this stuff than people give him credit for. Boy, is that a hot performance. Schumann, Symphonies 1, 4, 2, 3, Cello Concerto, Piano Concerto. Oh, they're great. I mean, the concertos, people may have their choices because they can be a little bit on the heavy side, but the symphonies, they just go crazy. Bernstein was a great Schumann conductor, and he just plays those symphonies like they were written by a soon-to-be crazy person, and the result is thrilling. Thrilling, big, beefy, romantic, bold, original orchestrations, incredibly alert performances. They're just wonderful. Shostakovich, 1 and 7, 6 and 9. Okay, 1 and 7 are with Chicago. They are amazing. I saw 7. I was there. Oh, the loudest thing I ever heard. That was the one where the audience was applauding afterwards and you couldn't hear it because your ears were still ringing. It was an amazing performance. And the first is really great too. 6 and 9 are with Vienna. Not as good. Dryly recorded. His first versions of 6 and 9 with New York, much, much better. Much better. And of course, the cymbal player gets lost at the end of number 6, which is always amusing. Yes. Okay, let's see. Sibelius, Symphonies 1, 2, 5, and 7. 1 is the best of this batch. I also saw these. 1 is really well done, but the sound is not good on any of these particularly. 1 has, all the horns always sound like they're playing with stop tones. It's very dryly recorded. Very dry, but it's a very grand number 1. 2 has like the endless slow movement that just goes on forever with the brass dying with those big crescendos. It's very self-indulgent and I think rather dull. 5 and 7 are just big and heavy and boring. I mean, there's just nothing special about them at all. Bernstein's first Sibelius cycle is one of the great ones. These remakes, no. Not nearly as good. Strauss, Salome Selections, and Lieder. Well, that's fun. That's lots of fun. Who is it? Montserrat Caballé, I think, is doing that stuff. And she's great. And it's just a fun disc. And then we've got Stravinsky. Well, Bernstein Stravinsky is always fabulous. Firebird Suite, Pulcinella Suite, Petrushka, Scène de Ballet, which was new to his discography, Le Sacre du Printemps, the Rite of Spring, that is, Symphony in C, Symphony in 3 movements, Les Noces, they're all fabulous. Simply wonderful, mostly with the Israel Philharmonic. Again, somewhat dryly recorded, but exciting and very well done, and there's nothing to complain about. Tchaikovsky. Well, here's the deal. We've got symphonies numbers 4, 5, 6, Francesca da Rimini, Romeo and Juliet with the New York Phil, and then Romeo and Juliet, Francesca da Rimini with the Israel Phil, and Hamlet and the March Slav and the Capriccio Italiano and the 1812 Overture, all with the Israel Phil. Those are all better than the New York ones, because the New York ones were really, really, really late and really, 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 really slow and mannered. But the Israel Phil ones are just exciting as hell and first class. They absolutely are terrific. Hamlet's amazing. And the Operatic, even though it has that incredibly slow finale, is a performance for the ages. It's just amazing. But 4 and 5, much less so. Much less so. It's just, they're push me, pull you performances. They're kind of all over the place. But that Operatic, not for everyday listening, as Gramophone would say, as though you're going to want to listen to the Operatic every day. Right, yeah, sure. But if you want a wrist-slitting, totally nihilistic Operatic, this is the way to go. Holy Moses. Wagner, his Tristan, Dvorak, Cello Concerto, and Shlomo with Misha Maisky. These are kind of over-the-top, hot and heavy, slushy romantic performances. I like his Shlomo with Rostropovich considerably better. I think that, you can live without him. Then we've got the Tristan and Isolde with Hildegard Behrens and the Tristan people. And Merlot and all the Tristan folks come back. I think it's a really great Tristan. It's the one where Karl Böhm finally said, someone dares to take the prelude as slow as it's supposed to go. I never thought I'd hear it in my lifetime. Bloopity, bloopity, bloop. This is with Bavarian Radio. Behrens, by the way, had like the flu. Bernstein performances had flus. Like his Candide, that had like the flu. Everyone had the flu too. But even he did. But in this case, she did. And she manages to scream through it. She really does. I mean, there's a lot in Tristan where shrieking is okay, so it's fine. Then we've got his 1953 American Decca recordings with his musical analyses. These are just fun. They're really just fun. You get the Eroica, Beethoven's Eroica, Dvorak's New World Symphony, Schumann's Second, Brahms' Fourth, and Tchaikovsky's Pathetique, all with his analyses attached to them. And that was really something. Bernstein was such an educator. I mean, really just great. And finally, a bonus with selections from Fancy Free and On the Town from like the dawn of time. And you get like amazing soloists and lots of like famous people and famous orchestras. And there you go. So I think that really gives you a pretty sensible overview. And my picks for where you're better off when Bernstein is early Bernstein rather than later Bernstein. Let me put these here so they don't fall on the floor. And we're all set. There you go. The Bernstein collection on Deutsche Grammophon. All of his DG recordings here in 2 volumes, later in 1 big volume, and of course the singles and the stuff that's out there. You can collect them and trade them. They're like matchbox cars and cards and shuffle them and have a good time. I mean, he was such a genius. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, there will never be his like again. And even when he was perverse, sometimes there were insights worth hearing. Oftentimes there were not. I am not one of those people who says, oh, well, they're worth hearing for the additional insight. I always say, okay, show me an insight. Prove it. Point one out. And then, of course, there's like silence on the other side. So, yeah, I mean, there are some fascinating things in his more perverse moments, but generally perversity is perversity, and where we have non-perverse alternatives, we're better off. And that's how I feel about it. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.